Wanted to expand on an idea. I was talking about this in another video about why pilots are trained not to think of something negative while they're flying because um, your mind apparently doesn't process negation. So when you say "don't think of this," or "don't look there," you know what I mean, or think of the worst case scenario, that kind of thing, your mind first has to build the worst case scenario and then try not to look at it. So it's there. It's activating that just by default of saying, don't do this, right? So when we say to our kids, oh, you know, you've got a big test today, don't fail, right? Their mind automatically is building a timeline of them failing, right? And then they're going in, they've got a little bit of fear now. They're going to really try hard to go to this timeline where they didn't fail, right? Whereas if we just said something like, you've got this today, just do your best, right? And they weren't given an instruction to vibrationally see the failure, then the possibility of just what does their best feel like? Okay, cool. Okay, thanks, mom. Love you. When they out the door, they didn't put anything in the field. They were more available for the positive, more of a positive outline. So it's kind of it really there is a science to it, to saying don't do this, because it's like that path of the path of what you want to become, but most people are too busy seeing the what's the word I'm going to say, gosh, there's a word for it, and it's just I've lost it. But they're building all the resistance pieces along the way of all the possibilities of what could go wrong, right, in their consciousness, because it's just how we've been trained, right? And my generation in particular, oh my gosh, I joke that my mom in particular, she would have been a really great risk management person because, oh gosh, she told us so many things. It wasn't, just the running with scissors kind of piece. It was way beyond that. It was, my sisters and I joke now about it because really she had a lot of fears around things. And there was a time where I had picked up a lot of her fears, and I had to go and unravel a lot of those. And it was good because it actually, you can always find the gift in all of it. And now I see that this version of me that is actually able to hold light and see both sides of every story. I understand. I'm working. I'm almost like I always say I'm reverse engineering things so that I can bring light to those stories and collapse them as we go and call the stories back into the 0 point, because I have been both, right? And so it's a really, yeah, it's very interesting. But in the future, I believe we're not going to automatically tell people the worst case scenarios to get them to think about it and then try to negate it, right? So I think, anyways, it's there's a bunch of reasons why we just want to go, okay, instead of if I don't get this done, I'm not getting paid next week, or if I don't do this, I can't, blah blah blah, or there won't be any vacation, or if I don't get my car looked at, it's going to break down, whatever. If you stop putting all these pieces that have to be done before you can get to over here where you're on your highest timeline, right? Your mind automatically constructs, vibrationally sees all those potentials in the field, right? And it's all getting your currency. That's the thing. So the people that with a lot of anxiety, it's because they're putting a lot of stuff in the field, but there's not enough permissions or energetic currency going to the I've got this timeline. And so instead of asking ourselves what could go wrong, we have to train ourselves to go, what could go right here, and allow that to be the currency, and then see the possibilities within going right. Okay, so the trajectory. Oh, okay, well, best case scenario, this happens, and all the different layers, and play in that playground. And you might still have an old echo that calls in a story over here, but just send it love and move on and choose again. Because we're going to get to the point where we're training all of our algorithms, and we're going to be those neural pathways of this, the part, where you had to see the worst case scenario. Those are, when they're not getting currency, they're going to start pruning themselves. They're just going to dissolve and dry up and fizzle out, kind of thing. So um, because the chords aren't being activated, right? So it's use it or lose it, right? We don't necessarily need to use all those fear-based programs anymore. They were there and we can see them, right? So we're letting them go. So that's an interesting thing about, with why we've got, things like dementia and Alzheimer's and all sorts of things going on right now, because it's showing us how easily it is to lose programs, right? And so as easy as somebody who's super smart in their through their whole lives, and all of a sudden their last few years, and they look like they're not very they're not all there, right? They're a living example of something in their programming. They didn't choose it, right? But their biology was a vibrational match for it, for whatever reason, right? Some cases they say it's connected to hearing loss and stuff like that. And they say if you're not taking in all those high frequencies or sounds or things like that, that doors start closing, and then the information on the other side of those doors aren't available, right? So there's a lot of different things that could happen, right? That could make that happen. But we want to do it in our brains, in our neural pathways, where we are consciously letting go of certain pathways, those ones that tell our bodies that, if you eat that, you're going to get fat, or if you eat that, this happens, or there's full of all these pesticides and chemicals, and eventually those things collect and give people diseases or cancers or whatever it is. We've got those programs, right? That every person who's ever presented a study or a story and it's got limitation around it, we're not denying that it's there. There are timelines where that is real and active. And if you can start seeing timelines as neural pathways, right? And there's many of them, but they don't have to be active within you, right? So, the same way that some genes in the same family get expressed in one person but not in another, right? The frequency matching piece is what you're a vibrational match for. And we don't know what that person has encountered that wiggled that fearful thread, right? That activated it. So what we want to do though is our own frequency management. So when I go into my balancing practice or my meditations, I call back everything in that day back into the 0 point. I integrate all the shadow pieces. I love whatever popped up for me, and I really do see it's like in this now moment I am brand new, right? And I ask my teams to fill me with so much light and love, and then I try to go to sleep in that light and love. And I'll actually say once in a while, if I've had a really good meditation, and whatever it is that I was working with, or whatever, cosmic group or Christed group or angelic group or whatever it is that was working in my meditations that day, I might ask them to continue working with me as I sleep. If there's something in my physicality that could benefit from a healing while I sleep, may I be, sitting or laying in my divine inner healing temple, right, while I sleep, and then I hand it all over, and I trust my you say your soul or your I say spirit a lot, because then it encompasses a whole bunch of different layers and levels. We humans do a thing where we compartmentalize our higher self and higher aspects into themes and flavors, and and so some groups work with gods and goddesses, some groups work with archetypes, some groups work with the zodiac, some groups work with angels, or the ascended masters. There's different, a whole bunch of different ways to call it in, right? It's just how the light comes to you, right? And some people are way out there in the stars and are working with the cosmic lineages. Some people are working with the inner earth beings, and again, I've covered all this, but yeah, you can allow those to work with you and to just assist you in pruning the timelines and those stories and programs that you have taken on and accepted as true, right? Because we bought we believed it, right? So what we want to do is don't put them in darkness. I would say, don't shoot the messenger, because you were a vibrational match for that story to show up in your reality. It doesn't show up for everybody, right? So not everybody believes that, I don't know, such and such food is bad for them, right? You know, right? So I've gone through the whole gamut of, cod liver oil good for you, cod liver oil bad for you. Now back on the fence, right? Nutritional yeast good for you, nutritional yeast bad for you. Back on the fence, right? All these things. There's a whole bunch of them, right? Where if you can come full circle, where you just it's neither good nor bad. It's my relationship to it. It's my informat ions. How did I allow it to inform me, right? And when I'm just back in my 0 point and I'm allowing my innate, my smart body to connect with something, I always just ask, may the highest of the highest and most appropriate show up for me, and I trust that whatever is most beneficial, my teams know what to do with it. And and then you can say something like, please let no inappropriate chemistry affect my biology. However, your language around that wants to show up. There's certain phrases that are going to land better in you, right? And that that you can feel into, and you go, I'm going to call it in this way. You want to keep it short and easy and clean, but it's you could do it like a prayer at your table, right? Where you go, thank you, thank you, thank you for this beautiful nutritional food, and may my biology, and again, I'm just making this up as I go, but may my biology be restored and revitalized and refreshed. And I thank you, thank you, thank you to Gaia and all my teams and all the something's being let go here. Yeah. And to may I let go of all previous limitations on my biology. And I thank you, thank you, thank you. Right? And that's it. I mean, things like that. Again, that's just one that just popped in, but you want to do it in your own way. And then you want to do it in such a way. I do it in my meditations a lot, where I'll actually ask, may this become a default setting in my consciousness. So I'm putting in bumper lanes, so I no longer have to go and find those crazy stories. And the more I trust that my bumper lanes, as the programmer, right, I can code them in, that I've got them, I know they're working for me, right? So that if I do sit down and have something that, let's say I do a latte, like I really love summertime, I love those lavender matcha lattes at Starbucks. And, people could go, oh, Deborah, there's this and this and this and this. And okay, yeah. But there's a spark of the creator in me. And that creator being doesn't have to interact with everything from its poison level, right? We know that the yogis, some of them could drink poison and be totally unaffected. We know that, people have been known to leave the body and come back, right? So a lavender matcha, how much power do I want to give it over me, right? So does it make me feel good? Yeah. And so can I hold that beautiful space of gratitude while I'm drinking it? Yeah. So that's the frequency I'm going to meet it with, right? It's got a, we have that reward center in our brain, right? And so I don't want to take away all my rewards, right? Because somebody has found an argument against them all, right? So, I'm the script writer. I'm the authority, author my own energy, right? So I'm going to start writing my own permissions there. And I wanted to talk about that because I think that's very important about the negation part in our brain that wants to naturally create. It has to construct the story because it doesn't naturally do it. That's what humans did, right? That is probably back at Adam and Eve, right? Don't eat that apple. So it's right. It's a sin. So we had to construct sin, right? For us to go, now don't do this, right? And so everything went out from there. But was it a sin? No, maybe it wasn't, right? Now that we look back, we go, really, how bad was that, right? So that's what we've got to do. So everything's coming back full circle, and see where you're pulling things around full circle, and be so grateful, because that's your higher wisdom, your higher consciousness, that you're activating more of your light body. It's allowing you to see more seats at the table in those situations. So every time you get to see something and I thought this about it, but now I think this, you're seeing both sides, right? your pendulum swung and it's given you all the, I always say it's filling out all the seats at your table. So now you can collapse the charge. You no longer have to be in a distortion in it. Your axis, your beautiful swirling world, your sphere of influence no longer has to have a wobble in it, right? So we can do, the more things we can do that with, the more that the sum of our parts is in this beautiful divine flow state. So yeah, wanted to chat and say hello and just to remind people on those things. So yeah, sending you lots of love. Thank you for being here.